Guys, a whole category of energy drinks has emerged with names like Yahweh and Praise Energy, and their pitch is that you can spread the gospel through caffeine. Physicists just achieved something that was thought to be theoretically impossible, a certifiably perfect randomness using quantum entanglement, and a new analysis finds nearly 1 in 5 Americans 65 and older are still working. This is News Side Quest, the show for people who want to know what else happened this week besides whatever everybody is furious about. I'm Keith Conrad. Let's close out the week. The Guardian published a piece this week on what is apparently a growing corner of the beverage market. Energy drinks explicitly marketed as Christian products with names derived from Scripture, images of Jesus on the cans, and a stated mission of spreading the gospel through caffeine. The brands include Yahweh Energy, which puts an image of Jesus on its cans and whose founder says, quote, "God put it on our hearts to specifically preach the gospel through an energy drink." There's Agape Energy, whose flavors include Preachin' Peach, which reviewers have compared favorably to a peach lollipop, and 4GVN, a stylized version of Forgiven, and Praise Energy, founded by a Christian influencer named Bryce Crawford, whose brand features Bible verses and custom artwork on every can, with a QR code linking to Scripture. Look, Jesus didn't turn water into Brawndo.
It's got electrolytes.
Nothing in the Gospels suggests that the Sermon on the Mount was followed by a pre-workout supplement pitch. The brand proposition, "I'm a Christian, buy my energy drink," doesn't obviously serve either the energy drink or the faith. I want to be fair to what's actually happening here because the debate within Christianity about this is genuinely interesting. Critics argue that slapping Jesus on an energy drink risks reducing sacred realities to a marketing strategy, treating religious devotion as a commodity. Defenders, on the other hand, argue that Christians have always brought the gospel into the spaces where people actually are. And if people are buying energy drinks by the millions, well, why shouldn't that space carry a message of faith? The Guardian frames this as part of a broader saturation of the celebrity beverage market. The energy drink space is glutted with celebrity-backed products, and standing out requires a very specific tribe. Christian consumers represent a potentially loyal niche who might prefer a can that reflects their values over one endorsed by a celebrity they don't follow. Whether Yahweh Energy is genuine evangelism or branded commerce is a question each consumer gets to answer for themselves. I'll say this, the Preachin' Peach flavor sounds pretty good. I don't know what I expected, but peach lollipop isn't it. What's the most unexpected product you've ever seen slap a religious, moral, or value-based label on itself to sell better? It's not actually religious, but I worked for a radio station once that had advertisers who said they were the roofing company who shared your conservative values. That always made me laugh because I imagined a customer saying something like, "Well, my roof still leaks, but at least the people who worked on it believe in supply-side economics."
Let's have a quick word of prayer.
Oh, let's not.
Researchers in Switzerland just published a paper in the journal Nature demonstrating something that was previously thought to be theoretically impossible: certifiably perfect randomness. I'm hoping they can teach Spotify how to build an actually random playlist. But the actual story here is significantly more consequential than shuffle mode. Creating true randomness is surprisingly difficult. Even the most sophisticated conventional random number generators carry tiny biases, subtle systematic errors that cause more numbers to appear slightly more frequently than others. For most everyday uses, this doesn't really matter. In cryptography, it matters enormously because the security of encrypted systems depends on unpredictability. Even the most subtle pattern can become an exploitable weakness. The team's solution is called randomness amplification. Rather than trying to build a perfect random number generator from scratch, they deliberately started with imperfect randomness, input that contained subtle flaws and biases, and used quantum entanglement to transform it into randomness that is certifiably perfect. Previous quantum systems could produce highly random outputs, but the outputs couldn't be mathematically proven to be perfectly random. This one can. As one of the lead scientists put it, quote, "The resulting sequence of zeros and ones is now really perfectly random, and we can even certify that," end quote. The experiment uses two superconducting chips cooled to temperatures near absolute zero, connected by a 30-meter link. Each chip acts as a qubit, the quantum equivalent of a bit. The entanglement between them is what produces the certified randomness through a process called a Bell test. The implications are significant. The team compares their achievement to an atomic clock for timekeeping, a physically reliable reference that other systems can depend on. Future applications include stronger encryption, more secure digital identities, fairer lotteries, that's a good one, and more reliable blockchain operations. And yes, I want to note, the reason Spotify's shuffle mode doesn't feel random is not a physics conundrum. It's actually a design choice. Spotify actually made their shuffle less random because truly random playlists clustered the same artists together and people complained about it, because of course they did. So they made it deliberately non-random, but feel more random. Human psychology is a problem that quantum entanglement just can't solve, at least not yet. What's the most perfectly random thing that's ever happened to you? The coincidence so improbable that for a moment it made you question whether anything is actually random at all.
I don't understand this.
A new analysis from LendingTree using U.S. Census Bureau data finds that 18% of Americans aged 65 and older were employed full or part-time in 2025. That's nearly 1 in 5 Americans at what has traditionally been considered retirement age still in the workforce. Recent news would suggest that number is only going to grow over time. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that adults 65 and older will make up 8.6% of the entire labor force by 2032, up from 6.6% in 2022. Older adults are expected to account for 57% of all labor force growth over that decade. The reason most of them are working is not that subtle. The average Social Security benefit in 2026 is roughly $2,000 a month. The typical basic monthly spending for a single adult for a phone bill, home repair, or birthday gift is about $4,500 a month. That gap is $2,500 a month. For a lot of older Americans, that math doesn't close without continued income from work. A recent AARP survey found that 48% of older Americans who had unretired, returned to work after retired, said their primary reason was simply to make money. That's a good reason to work. Only 14% said they wanted to stay active. Basic expenses are the number one driver. I want to note that the picture isn't uniformly grim. The same data finds that older workers who are still employed tend to be happier at work than younger workers, partly because those who disliked their jobs retired by 65, leaving a subset who are more likely to be in jobs they actually chose and find meaningful. Older workers are also more than twice as likely as workers under 65 to be self-employed, at 23% versus 10%, suggesting that a significant portion have found their way into their work on their own terms, which is nice. I've been thinking about this through the lens of everything we've talked about this month. The man training at 89 to climb Kilimanjaro, the 91-year-old gamer trying to beat her record, the woman who graduated medical school at 72, and on the other side, Gen X with 50% expecting to raid their retirement accounts, the happiness peak at 52 that depends on financial stability, the tough study showing younger generations dying faster. The picture of aging in America right now is two very different stories running simultaneously, and which one you're living has a lot to do with what was available to you when you were younger. So what does your vision of not fully retiring actually look like? And is working longer something you fear, accept, or are you generally starting to make peace with it?
Death stalks you at every turn.
Grandpa?
Well, it does. There it is! Death!
It's only Maggie.
Oh, yeah. You know, at my age, the mind starts playing tricks. So, death!
That's only the cat.
Oh, death!
That's Maggie again, Grandpa.
Oh, where were we? Death!
On side quests, the Titanic series is covering the evacuation now, the lifeboats, the decisions made in the dark of night, the order in which people got off and didn't. It's the stretch of the series that changes how you think about the whole story. Free condensed version for everybody, extended cut for paid subscribers. Find side quests wherever you get your podcasts or through the Substack at newsidequest.com.
Would you like to know more?
The flesh-eating screwworm has returned to the United States for the first time in 60 years, with a confirmed case in a Texas calf. The New World screwworm was eradicated from the U.S. in the 1960s through a sterile insect technique program, considered one of the great achievements of American agricultural science. Its return is a serious threat to the cattle supply. Who had flesh-eating screwworm on their June bingo card?
Gross!
A family is suing Campbell's and Walmart after claiming they found actively moving worms or parasites inside a can of SpaghettiOs. The lawsuit describes the discovery in detail I will not reproduce here. All I have to add is, uh-oh.
Just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Identical twin brothers who both became doctors have returned to lead the emergency room at their hometown in New Jersey. They both attended the same medical school, both became emergency medicine physicians, and now work in the same ER. This sounds like the plot of an early 1990s sitcom that somehow wasn't made. The network missed a real opportunity.
You're what we call a goner.
Nearly 60 people in Idaho became ill after drinking raw milk in the span of 2 weeks. According to state officials, the illnesses are consistent with bacterial contamination that pasteurization eliminates. It would have been nice if someone could have warned them drinking raw milk wasn't such a good idea. Pasteurization was invented in 1864. The warning has been available for some time.
Thank you for playing. Should we or should we not follow the advice of the galactically stupid?
That's New Side Quest, 3 questions to close out the week and head into the weekend. The most unexpected product you've ever seen slap a values label on itself. The most perfectly random thing that's ever happened to you, and what your version of not fully retiring looks like, and whether you've made peace with it. Email me at newsidequest@gmail.com or hit me up in the Substack comments. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.